So got a thumbs up from Noel. Where should I go for this? Part one. Last time we did, I think we are left with only 16, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Let's get over with this. Okay. So system development and data analytics. Let's see how much of this we can get. Technology enabled finance transformation and analytics and big data. Okay, 1 second. So just have a look. Hmm. Business process analysis and design.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes, hi.
Okay, Asama, you are here.
Yes,
Good evening.
I, we are approaching the final chapter. Huh?
Yeah. Reduced fraud. Okay. Cloud computing. I'm just trying to see that.
I thought you 10 pages already.
Oh no, no. I'm just scrolling. I'm just trying to see what are the things there. Analytics and big data, business intelligence, data analysis. Okay. Obtain relevant data, normalize, analyze. Hmm. And where did this came? Software data mining, they are giving simple regression. Multiple regression, standard error aspect of this. Ah, brilliant. Very good. This is key. Then predictive analytics. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, the fifth key. Yes. Very good. Fine. So let's start. All right. And I can see there are many things which are out of scope, which I hope we'll have no idea of because that is too hardcore IT stuff. And there are some things which we must be having some ideas. So see, what I want to do is I want to start from this regression, simple regression. Fine. So that is a part of data analytics and big data. Fine. So let's start from here. Analytics and big data. See, technology enabled finance transformation. So I went through these 12 pages. All rocket science is there about like this, what do you say, system and all. Fine. So this is something that we can talk about, analytics and big data. So let's talk about this first. Here are things that I may add value to. So let's start from this. Data analysis. Now see, here they started with the business intelligence. Fine. This is associated with the collection of application tools, all these things which helps in managerial control, strategic planning. Business intelligence, basically all the IT, all the information related stuff which is stored, accessed and used for helping the management. All right. Business intelligence gives upper management information about the present status of the company. This gives executive immediate information about the organization's critical success factors. Fine. So that is what business intelligence is. All the information regarding the business, regarding the company. Now, business intelligence tools rely on advanced software. So, like, they're talking about heavy things. Fine. Now, how do we get this? It is divided into two parts basically, business intelligence. One is the data, fine, and another one is the analysis of that data. What are the methods in which you can bring out meaningful things from the data? Fine. So, data analytics involves qualitative and quantitative methodologies and procedure to retrieve data out of data sources and then inspect the data based on data type to facilitate the decision making. Fine. So that is our data analytics, taking out the data and using it for the purpose of decision making. Now, see, for profit entities, not for profit entities, and government agencies utilize data analytics to reach a conclusion based on evidence and reasoning. Fine. When you take some data and do some calculation, because after all of this, I'm going to take you guys to statistics, because that is where we have a data, and when then we do some analysis on it to get an answer out of it. Fine. Raw data in itself means nothing. It has to be processed in a certain way so that it can get converted into a meaningful information. Okay. Now, management utilizes the data analytics to evaluate operational, financial, and other data to identify any deviation from the norm and opportunities for enhancement or advancement. Now, see, the main 5 stages of data analytics are: define the question. So, what do you want? Like, for example, if I want to know the current ratio, the budget variance, all these things should be already defined. Fine. Clearly defined goals and objective assist the IT team and selecting the most appropriate technology source to use for the analysis. So basically, first thing is the question should be defined. Second is obtain relevant data. So for that particular question, whatever are the relevant information or data which is required to find out that, like, a solution for that question should be obtained, retrieved. Fine. Then normalize, clean the data, normalize the data. Fine. So cleaning data consists of, but it is not limited to, flushing out useless information, identifying missing data. Like, to give you just a simple example of it, see, let's say if you want average height, all right, average height of a man, okay, in Qatar, let's say, fine. And if you go out and if you do the measurement and you get this kind of a measurement, see, there, like, let's say this is like, 5'5", 5'5", and this is 6'2", fine. So all the people, like, most of the people are in this bracket, fine. There is one guy who is like 8 feet, fine, and here you have got one guy who is 3.5 feet. So normalizing the data basically means understanding that these are extreme and weird cases. Find one of, one of its type. So remove all this, take the most relevant data and run the analysis on this. Okay, because, like, most of the people are here. If you have people all the way to this, like, 6, then 7.5, you have all these numbers, 7, 11, and then you have 8, then it doesn't, like, this is not an abnormal data. Fine. But, like, 6, 2, you have 6, 6 is the next, like, the highest, and then all the way directly you have 8. That is way out of the line, all right, out of the range. Now you have to do that. Then while doing the normalizing, you have to take care of the integrity. The integrity shouldn't be hampered. Then analyze the data. So now you have decided, normalize the data, cleaned the data. Now you have
Can
to
you
analyze.
adjust your-
You are saying
the voice?
something?
Yeah, I'm saying, can you adjust your headphone because your voice is breaking up?
Okay, one
Using,
second. Let me find one headphone.
are you using a headphone or you're not using a headphone?
I don't have the headphone today.
And that's fine.
Okay then.
There's some distortion.
Yeah, no problem. Analyze data. So as the data collected are analyzed, a determination can be made as to whether the data are the exact data. Okay, analyze data. Fine. So basically now in analyze data, you will have to see what analysis you want to do on that. Fine, like because there will be some calculation stuff or like presentational stuff. What analysis, what kind of analysis do you want? But here I think they have given us all too many things about this. So let's see. The determination includes but is not limited to assessing the additional data needed, collecting new or different data, revising, formulating. Data analytic method include the following application types. Okay. Now this is new, and I think again this is as per this part one requirement. This is going to be the horrible part for you guys. Read as many times as you can so that you can understand that all these are part of or methods of data analytics or analyzing data. Fine, so that it can be like ticked when it comes in the question. Descriptive analysis is the most basic and most used method. It concentrates on reporting actual results. Diagnostic analysis provides insight into the reason certain results occurred. So diagnostic, you are trying to find out the reasons why these numbers are coming up. Then predictive analysis involves applying assumption to data and predicting future results. Fine. Prescriptive analysis means concentrates on what an organization needs to do in order to predict, in order for the predicted future results to actually occur. So prescriptive means here you are telling that these are the things that we need to do or we need to have if we want this kind of outcome. Fine. Prescription. So you are basically suggesting. Anomaly detection is used to identify unusual patterns or deviations from the norm or expected results. Network analysis consists of analyzing network data and statistics to find patterns. Text analysis involves the utilization of text mining and natural language algorithms to find patterns in unstructured text. Okay, now these are the analytics we'll run in order to analyze the data. Then communicate results. Basically, see, once you have taken the clear and normalized data, you do your analysis, and whatever is your outcome, whatever you get from that analysis of the data, you present that data, you communicate the result. Fine. In between, they have written something more in details, but this is what 5 steps are. First, identify the question. Second, take the data. Third, normalize the data. Fourth, analyze the data. And fifth, communicate the results. Fine. Now, communicating can be done through data visualization or graphics, like chart or graph or this summary table. Fine. There are many ways in which this data can be presented. So this is basically presentation of the data. Generally, language should be fact-based and neutral. So if you are communicating something, the language should be fact-based, not estimations or not your own judgment. And it should be neutral. The language should be neutral. Data mining is the search for unexpected relationships among data. It combines information technology and statistics with the goal of analyzing data from different perspectives and summarizing it into useful information. Okay, so basically it is like data mining is the search for among data, it combines information. Okay, let's see, because data mining is basically finding out the data, right? The missing numbers or the missing whatever information it is, finding out those numbers. The classic example of the use of data mining was the discovery by convenience stores that diapers and beer often appeared in the same sales transaction in the late evening. Okay, another example is the process Netflix uses to make decision about which new show to acquire and produce. Data scientists are at Netflix gather information on trends in what and how consumers are watching, then draw conclusion from those trends on what consumers are most likely to watch in the future. Okay, so data mining basically is what? They have given example and that makes sense, but what is data mining? I think it's anything to do with data. Fine, like you have data, you do the analysis of that data as per whatever you want to know from that and use it accordingly in your business. Fine. I think the most okay. Yeah. See, common tasks performed during data mining to achieve the goals of revealing patterns and providing insight include detecting anomalies wherever there is not normal things happening, so that can be detected, finding relationship between variables to sort data into clusters that differ from known structures. So again, data mining basically we are talking about anything which is not normal or not usual. We are trying to find out those points, those informations, classifying data within the boundaries of known structure and have been generalized to accommodate new data sets, performing regression, summarizing, fine. Okay, now here I think again we have got some steps. Let's see, some people claim data mining is a science because a computer system is used to find solutions, while others claim that data mining is an art because distinguishing meaningful pattern from the computer output is highly dependent on the judgment, expertise, and intuition of the analyst. Okay, so the first step in data mining is finding an anomaly such as an outlier, cluster, unexpected change, or a deviation from what was expected. So that is the first level. The next step is to find relationship between variables and then cluster those relationships in some manner. So finding out the reasoning for these kind of changes, you can say deviations, they have already mentioned. Fine. Then once the data have been clustered, the next step is to generalize the relationship so that the demonstrated structure applies to new data as well as the original database. Now once you have find out this thing, now you have to make it normal or like general in the system so that now if the first thing happens, the second will happen, can be predicted. Okay. Regression analysis, including both linear and multiple regression, attempts to find a quantitative function or equation that models the data of the least with the least error. That is to estimate the relationship among the data or data sets. Now here we can do 2 minutes of talking. Okay. Like see, there was one project that came across, and in that project there was a lady, she wanted to find relationship between communication and performance. Communication and performance. Now, how can you derive that? Now, because basically I want to talk about this because of regression. Regression is what we were talking about, right, in the book. Fine. So how can this help us in quantifying some weird kind of stuff? Because see, here communication and performance, how will you judge that what because communication is nothing quantifiable, right? We cannot quantify that. You can keep a grade: good communication, bad communication, moderate communication. That is also little bit difficult. Fine, that is also little bit difficult. But anyways, communication and performance, how will you match these things? Okay, that was her project. So what we did was we created some questions, fine, which will talk about communication to the staff. So basically there will be like 5 questions which you will ask your staff, and they will say either yes, no, like strongly agree, agree, disagree, that kind of thing. So 5 points, 1 2 3 4, 5 answers were there. Fine, strongly agree, agree, like don't know, fine, disagree, strongly disagree, like that. And then there were 5 performance questions. So it was not differentiated like this. You will get a form in the office. There are 10 questions, just answer. All right. And now we had created that, okay, how is this connected to the other one? Like, for example, the first question is how clear you are, or like, with what level of clarity, fine, you receive the instruction from your seniors. Okay, and then how often do you complete your work on time? So these two are connected, and then we calculated, we did a regression analysis on this among the answers that we have got from, let's say, 200 employees of the office. Fine. So first was questionnaire, and then if the regression, like if the correlation that we found here was like, let's say, 0.8, so that means there is a, like, actually again, we cannot say anything with certainty, that is all statistics, but what we conclude from this was that there is a high correlation between these two things. Fine, there is high correlation between these two things. So that way we did the regression analysis to create a number to, like, to give a numerical answer to this kind of an emotional question. Because initially when I first saw this, I myself couldn't, like, wrap my head around it, that how is this possible? How can we give a numerical answer to this? High communication means high performance. How will you give a, like, numerical answer to this? You can talk about it at length. You can write a essay on this, but number wise. So in these kind of cases, when you have to quantify stuff, you can take the help of this regression, correlation, and all that, and you can get this done. All right, the final step is provide a representation of the data set, including the visualization. Now, query tool can be used to assist with the retrieval of data using the data mining exercise. So, like, query tool, there must be some place, something where you will write the question, and that will initiate the whole system to do the maths and come up with an answer for you. Now, simple regression. This is why I got too excited and I wanted to start from here. So we have got two things, linear regression and multiple regression. Here also see multiple regression. Simple regression means, or linear regression. Linear regression means the relationship of this y is a function of x. Fine. And multiple regression means y is a function of a, b, c, d, like this. Too many. It can be more than one, fine, and it can be as much as you can imagine. So this, fine. The linear regression, multiple. Linear on graph will obviously have a straight line, and multiple regression is very difficult to put on a graph, because here we have x and y. Now where will you draw all this a, b, c, d? Okay. So multiple regression can be like, it has to be a straight line. It can be of any format: upside slope, down, like negative slope, parallel slope. Fine, it can be anything. and the equation of the line is obviously y equal to a plus bx mx, like y equal to mx plus c. This is how we write in science. Fine, same stuff. So here a is the y-intercept and b is the slope. A is the y-intercept, b is the slope. Now, see, okay, here they have mentioned the A is the y-intercept and B is the slope of the regression line. Now, one second. Okay. Fine. So see here they have given us an example of this. A firm has performed a linear regression analysis and determined that total manufacturing cost Y consists of fixed cost and variable cost 32 per unit. So 32 is with X, that's the coefficient of X, and 420 comes here as the fixed cost. So if you produce 0 units, see, if you produce 0, X will be 0. So this whole thing will become 0. You will get this answer 420. If the firm is planning to produce 12,000 units of output, fine. So 12,000 you put here, 12 into 32, fine. Whatever you get plus 420. They have done the maths here. It is equal to 804. So simple. Now, multiple regression is used when there is more than one independent variable, And see, this is the independent variable and this is the dependent variable. Now, in this case, these are all independent variables and this one is dependent. Okay.
Yes.
Now, for example, sales might depend on too many things. So fine, we have done that. The coefficient of determination is R square. Now this is again another interesting stuff. Coefficient of determination is R square. R is correlation in itself. R is correlation. And how do you define correlation? Correlation between X and Y. Alright. This is correlation is not the slope. Fine. It is not the slope of the line. Alright, fine. Basically, correlation is the tendency of X and Y falling on a straight line. Like for example, if I take X and Y and if I am plotting it and I get these kind of points and if I try to join it, I will get a straight line, correct? So the correlation of this line will be 1. And if I get a line like this and if I join again, the correlation will be 1 only. But I hope you can understand the slope of this line. Let's call it A and B. So slope of A is more than B, correct?
Yes.
So correlation is first of all not slope. Okay? Correlation is the tendency of two lines, 2 points falling on the same line. Okay? X and Y following a linear relation. Then you will have correlation equal to 1. Are we fine with that? Now, what does this indicates? If between X and Y, alright, the correlation is 1. What does that mean? That means all the movement in Y, fine, all the movement in Y is explained through X. all the explained through x means the reason is x. If it is 1, that means movement in y is because of x. There is no other factor. And if I do this x and y, and if I get correlation 0.8, fine, that means, like, there are other factors also which are affecting y, fine, and maybe I will get this kind of a point. So this is positive, right? But it is not on a straight line, right? You take the variables of x and y, you plot them, and if you get something like this and draw a line, right? So all these points are not falling on the straight line. That means there is something which is affecting y also apart from x. Okay, and see the same thing if I square it, r square. This is known as coefficient of determination also, and 0.8 square will give you 0.64. That is 64% movement. Fine, 64% movement in y is explained by x. 36% because of other reasons. Fine, like for example, see, there is a correlation. Fine, there is obviously a positive correlation between time spent studying and marks obtained in exam. Correct? Time spent studying and marks obtained in exam. There is a positive correlation. There is a positive correlation. Fine. Now, if you spend, like, this is x because this is independent, this is dependent, right? But if you do the correlation, you will not get 1. Why? Because there are other factors also. Fine. Intelligence level, then what was your mood on the date of examination, how much lucky you were. It's not only about how much time you have spent, right? Who was sitting in front of you, right? That also matters at times. Okay. So in this case, the value of r, all right, will be more than 0 but less than 1. Somewhere in between, there can be other things also. And if r is 0.8, that means r square is 64%. That means 64% of the marks obtained is because of time. Remaining 36% that you are getting can be for any other thing unknown, right? And that is why it is called coefficient of determination. We can determine that. The remaining we can't determine. Are we fine with this?
Okay.
Okay, and one more thing before we move here, the value of r can be in between -1 to 1. It cannot be anything less than -1. You cannot have -2 as correlation. You cannot have +3 or +4 as correlation.
What type of questions to expect from this? Because we studied this one before also, right? Correlation, regression.
I forgot
Already.
when.
Did
Maybe in
one
some
of,
other chapter, right?
I think costing chapter we read
Costing
that.
chapter, maybe.
No, no,
From
in
this,
chapter 9.
I just expect that you guys may get, like, this, what is r square and all this, closer to the value of r square is 1. This kind of question. I don't expect they'll give you a full question to solve on this, because there also when we didn't do like full the regression chapter.
Yeah, it was
It was a part,
bit.
right? It was a part of discussion.
Yeah.
So fine, 80%, 64%, same thing. Standard error, fine. So you have to be ready when you are doing these kind of calculations. There can be some errors, fine. This measures how well the linear equation represents the data, fine. It is the vertical distance between the data points in a scattered diagram and the regression line. Basically, see, I will take X and Y. Fine. So you have numbers here. Fine. You can make this kind of a group, right? If this is like 5, this is 2. So on the graph, point 5 and 2. So you got 1 point. Like this, you put all the points here. Fine. And then you draw the regression and you get this as the regression line. Now standard error is this, however, whatever is the distance. This is the standard error. Basically, variation from the line that is being termed in statistics as standard error. The closer the data points, the lower the standard error. What happened to this now? Yeah. Okay. Now aspects of regression analysis. What are the other aspects? There must be established X and Y. Since I think we have done that, then go ahead, do this. Goodness of fit test. I think we did this also in time series analysis. The least square. There were 4 methods. If we have done all that, I think then we have done this also. Assists with determining whether the sample. What?
This part we didn't do. Aspects of regression analysis, yes, but goodness of fit test, no.
No, it was known as something else. Method of least square.
Yeah, we did that.
That is what this is. Alright. And then we have this confidence level, confidence interval. Confidence level is the percentage of times that a sample is expected to be representative of the population. Alright, that is a confidence level of 95 should result in representative samples 95% of the time. Basically, 95% of the time, if you take out somebody from the sample, it will match with the population. 5% chances that, like, the sample that you have taken will not match with the characteristics of the actual population. Alright, and here confidence that the value of the item is within 1.9, okay, deviation. This is actually, I think we do any discussion on normal distributions like this bell with this kind of thing? Normal distribution. Did we do anything like this?
No.
Okay,
No.
fine. 2 minutes. See, this is supposed to be symmetrical first of all. Symmetrical means, like, if you fold this from here, this line will fall exactly on this line. That is what symmetrical means. Are we fine with that?
Okay, yes.
Okay. Now, see what happens when you take some numbers x, fine. You can do one thing. You can calculate mean of it, mean. Right? So if the mean, and let's say I'm taking salary and I have calculated mean. So basically I have calculated average salary, correct?
Yes.
And my answer is 10,000. Average salary of the employees of an office is 10,000. Fine with that? Then I calculated standard deviation. Alright? And I got 2000. So what does that mean now? Fine. There can be plus minus 2000 movement standard deviation. The average of movement is 2000. Fine. Now there are many, like, many tests and normalization stuff where one of those is normal distribution. We have Poisson distribution, we have binomial distribution. All right. we have Z test, T test, chi-square test. There are many. All right. Normal distribution, however, assumes distribution assumes that the maximum difference, fine, the maximum difference that, like, you can have is 3.09 times the standard deviation. All right. So this side and this side both. Okay. So the maximum that it can go is 3.09 times of the standard deviation. Fine. That basically means, see, the average, which is written as mu, is 10,000. SD is 2,000, right? So maximum, what, like, if you go here in this factory and ask anybody what will be the range of salary, they will give their answers there. All right, what will be the range? So can you multiply 3.09 into 2000?
6180.
6180, right? So the maximum that you can get is 16,180, and the minimum that you can get is how much? Minus 6180.
Out of 10,000?
Minus 6180.
16,000 minus 6180
No,
or
no,
10,000.
10, 10, 10.
3820.
3820. So basically that is the whole range. Fine. Between this you will find maximum of the people. All right. 49.9%. Okay. Is this. Okay. And this also will be then 49.9%. Now this 0.1% is here. 0.1% is left in this. Because, like, abnormal cases can be everywhere, right? Okay. This is 0.1%, this side. Okay. Now see, in this particular question, if I tell you that, okay, now I will go into that factory, I will choose anybody at random. Okay. What is the probability that that particular guy will be having a salary of more than 12,000? More than 12,000. So basically I am talking about this probability. I want to know this. Correct? Under this bell. Area under this. Fine? I want to know about this. Fine? How can you calculate that? So x is equal to 12,000. Now see how many times I'm trying to add the standard deviation. One time, right? Actually, they do it like this. Z is equal to x bar minus mu by SD. This is the formula. All right. You write the formula and you see what you are getting. 12,000 minus 10,000 by 2,000. So you get what? 1,000. 1. What I was telling you is, see, this system expects that SD can be, like, the maximum can be 3.9 times. The variation can be 3.09 times of the SD. 3.09 times of the SD, right? Whereas you are talking about what? Only one time of the SD, right? 10,000 plus 1 into SD will become this. So we are talking about this one. Are we fine with that?
Yes, yes.
Fine. So this formula helps us in calculating that. Okay. So we got it right now, because see, instead of 12, if I tell you, okay, 11,700, then you will, like, rather than doing mental maths, you will use the formula 11,700 minus 10 divided by 2. Fine. So 1,700 divided by 2. Whatever you get. 1,700 divided by 200. That will give you 0.85. 0.85. Fine. So now 0.85 will be the Z score, Z value. Now see, once we have got Z value as 1, what we do is we open the standard table and from there we try to find the value. So 1 second. Okay, I don't think we have anything like that here. All right. I have it in F9 book. 1 second. So let me do one thing. I'll show you just what it is. Okay. Yeah. Let me just show you. Maybe we can have it here also. Okay. PV and FP tables. There's an outliners. So 463. Maybe here we can have it. Okay. That's it. So they haven't given us that normal distribution. I don't think it is required, but there is a table. All right. With that table, we can solve and we can allocate some percentages. Fine. Now. Where can I get that? Where can I get that? I don't think. P4. Mathematical tables. This is the discount rate. See this one. The standard normal distribution table, right? See, when you do the maths and you get this 1 as the answer, right? So 1.00, where is like 1.00? See, 1.0 and 0. So the value is what? 34.13. That means 34.13%. Fine. The answer will be 34.13% is the probability that if I go in the factory and ask how many people, like, are earning more than, sorry, if I go into the factory, pick one guy, what is the probability that this one guy will be earning more than 12,000? The chances are 34%. Fine. What is the chance that he must be earning less than 12,000? So 1 minus 34 will give you that value. Alright. Now, see, we were calculating the percentage, right? What if I want 95% confidence? Fine, let me change this. 95% confidence. So where will you get 95? See, this is 50%, right? One side is 50%, another side is 50%. So this is 50. Now I want the value here, fine, above which this percentage will be 45. So 45 here and 50 all the way. So this whole thing will be 95%. Do you understand this maths?
Again, sorry.
What? Okay,
Again.
what I'm saying is, if this is the normal distribution, all right,
Yeah.
and I want to say something at 95% confidence, okay, so again, putting this back into the question that we were doing. So average salary is 10,000, standard deviation was 2,000, all right. Now, I want to say with 95% confidence that you go in the factory, ask anybody, he must be earning more than this value. So this, like, the blank that I'm using, what
Okay.
amount that should be, fine, that if
Yeah.
you take that amount and go and ask anybody that do you earn more than this, there is 95% chance that he will be earning more than that.
Okay.
Okay, that is called 95% confidence. So see, this is 50%, this side is 50%, so I need to find like the value of x here, okay, above which it will be 45%, right? 45%.
Yes.
Fine.
Yes.
Now, how do we get the value here? See, that value is z is equal to x minus mu by sd. Fine. Standard deviation. Okay. So z is equal to minus 10,000 and 2,000 is okay. We need 45%, right? Okay. On this side, 45. So go back in the table and search for 45%. See, 45, 45, this and this. See, 4495, 4505. Fine. Do you see this?
No. Can you move the cursor where?
Here, here, here. Can you see that? See, 16. Fine.
Oh, okay. Yes. Okay.
Fine. Now, 4495 and 4505. That means 4500 is exactly between these two lines, correct?
Yes.
Now this line is where, see, 1.6, all right, and if you go up 0.04, that means 1.64 and 1.65. Okay, so what I want is between 1.64 and 1.65. So can I say what I am looking for is at 1.645
Yes.
in between these two numbers? Okay, so my z value has to be 1.645. Fine.
Okay.
1.645. Now solve for x. So this 2000 goes there, multiply, and this goes there, it becomes plus. So x is equal to 1.645 times 2000 plus the standard deviation plus the mean 10,000. What do you guys get?
13,290.
How much?
13,290.
13,290. All right. So this is what, like, we should get. No,
But it
one
answer.
second.
How?
No. This is wrong.
Yes.
Yeah, this is wrong. Why? Because this is on the left side, right? Here I should have minus. This is on the left side, right? This is the negative side. And this is the positive side. Fine. So the value of z has to be negative. So if this is negative, I'll get negative here, right? So now
So
what do I get?
6,710.
What?
6710.
6710. Fine, now it is fine. So basically in this question 6710, I can with 95% confidence I can tell you that if you go in the factory and pick anybody, he must be earning more than $6710. Okay,
This chart is
95% confidence was being calculated at 1.645, right?
we can expect a question like this.
Yes. Why? Okay, one second. Where is your book?
The chart.
See,
The chart.
95%. What? You guys
They will give.
saying something?
They
What?
will give the probability chart.
They will give probability chart. I'm not sure of, but see the numbers which they have given, this they can give, right? A person selecting an item at random from a distributed population can be, for example, 95% confident that the value of this item is within 1.96 standard deviations of the
Okay.
mean. Fine.
Okay.
1.96 standard deviations of the mean. We were getting 1.64 only, right? Okay, and
Okay.
for 99%, it is 2.57. I think they are using some other chart because this will also be 2.33. This is little bit weird right now. Yeah, this is little bit weird because see, 99%, right? 99% means what? I want 49%, then only it will be 99, correct?
Mm.
Fine. So 49.49 is where in this chart, see, 0.49 will be somewhere down here, right? 49489, see 4949 here. Okay. So see, this is what 2.3 and 4901. 2.33 should be, yeah, 2.33. Fine. And here they are saying how much? 2.57 is standard deviation of the mean. Magic. 2.57 is where? Let me check that value also. 2.57. 2.5 and then 7 will be here, right in this line. 2.57. See, this is 49.49. That means 99.49%. This is not only 99, it is 99.49%. And 1.96, 1.9 and 6. So that was 47.5%. I don't know why they are doing this.
Okay.
Because for 95% confident interval, 1.645 and for 99%, 2.33 is used. If you guys have access to any other document, any other book or anything, please check this one. This is a claim issue or not. I mean, I'm not sure of this because see, in this book also, this one, if we'll go inside, all right, in the chapters, I can show you these numbers. This is what they have used. 2.33, there must be one chapter here, value at risk. 1 second. For 99%, they use that. Valuation, interest, risk, where is that? Okay, I will have to find it. Valuation and use of free cash flows. It will be somewhere in between all this. I will have to find that, but I think better you guys just see if you have any one of you, if you have otherwise memorize these numbers. This they can ask. All right, at 95% confidence level, what will be the Z value?
Okay.
Okay, because in our AFM class also, fine, we do this only because if even if they are giving you the chart, fine, why you want to take the harassment of going through the chart? Because three things you have to do. At 90% confidence, what is the number? At 95% it is 1.645 and at 99% it is 2.33. So just memorize these numbers. You don't have to see, because this is what they give. They never ask at 87% confidence what will be the number. Do the maths. Either 90, 95 or 99. Okay. So this is how we do it. Now here I don't know why and how they got 1.96. Confidence interval for a given confidence level is the range around the sample value. Okay. If repeated random samples. Okay. Advantage of regression analysis. Fine. Now see, the advantages of regression analysis is it uses data efficiently, good results can be obtained with relatively small set of data. Even if you have a small set of data, you can, like, because whenever we get numbers, like, you'll get 10, 20 and we do the calculation. Fine. So you can use from 10, 20 data sets all the way up to, like, 200 and 2000 data sets, no problem. The theory associated with the linear regression is well understood and allows for construction of different type of easily interpretable statistical intervals. Basically, normal distribution that we did here is, like, actually the easiest one out of the others that I was talking about. Fine. So maybe that is why they have written that. Don't take too seriously. Otherwise, you may not like it. That how can they say it's so easy? Then they have given some disadvantages. Output of regression can lie outside the relevant range, and actually for this only they have this 1% here. See, this bell is not closed here, right? You still have an opening, so 1%, 0.1% can be there on the other side, correct? This bell shape is not like this. It's not like this, that this is 50%, this is 50% done. It is like this. So still there is an opening. Fine. The shape that linear models can assume over long ranges are limited. Sometimes the extrapolation properties will be poor. The regression line may be ultra sensitive to outliers. Okay. The regression may be ultra sensitive to outliers. What they want to say here is that when you are doing the calculation of the regression line, all right, and you have data which is, like, too much outside of the range, all the numbers are here and this data is here. So because of that one data, the line that you will draw, maybe it may become like this, almost at the, like, see, generally what happens, this line should be passing through the center of the numbers of all these points, but because of it, see, it is tilted towards that because of this one point here. All right, these are called outliers. Okay, so the regression line may be ultra sensitive to outliers, depend on the value of the outliers. Various approaches to quantify or understand risk. So what are the other approaches to understand risk? One is the sensitivity analysis. Have we done this earlier? Sensitivity analysis?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So in sensitivity analysis, what we do is we try to find the most sensitive variable out of all the available variables for any kind of decision making. All right. So whatever decision making we are thinking of or we are doing, okay, we will find the most sensitive variable. Like, for example, see, a major use of sensitivity analysis is in capital budgeting. All right. So what are we doing in capital budgeting and how are we using sensitivity analysis there is this. See, like, for example, the best way of doing project appraisal, capital budgeting, the best way of doing capital budgeting is what? NPV. All right. So you have got year, you have got cash flows. Numbers are given 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the year. Today you will invest 10, you will receive 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. This is the cash flow that you will be having, let's say. Now on the basis of this, what you will do is you will do the present value factor and then PV of cash flow, and then you will add, and here you will get NPV. This is the normal general system. Now sensitivity analysis. See, how did you get this number 5,000? This is cash flow, right? So how did you get it? You took the estimated sales, means you estimated the quantity sold, you estimated the price at which you will be selling it. Fine. Minus cost. So cost, again, material. You estimated how many raw materials will be required. You estimated at what price you can buy it, the cost. Fine. You estimated labor. So you estimated hours of labor and you estimated the rate of labor. Correct? So this way you estimated all these things. Fine. And after doing all the plus minus, you finally came out with that cash flow in year 1 will be 5,000, correct? So this 5,000 has got many variables, alright? Now sensitivity analysis basically tries to answer that if this price, because see, if this price falls, there is a problem for you, correct? If the selling price increases, that is not a problem, that's good, right? But if it falls, then there is a problem. If the quantity falls, then there is a problem. If the cost of raw material increases, if the rate increases, if the raw material requirement increases, if the labor hour increases, correct? All of these are different variables, and what we do is we take one at a time, fine, and we try to find that price should change by how much, all right, so that our decision will be changed. Our decision will be changed when the NPV goes into negative, right? If it is positive, we will do the project. If it is negative, we will not do the project, right?
Yes, yes.
So I did this maths, I got a positive NPV, so I want to do this, right? Do the project. Now I'm trying to see that how much vulnerable this project is towards its variables. Okay. Now, what are the variables? The variables are selling price. Okay. The variables are units sold. The variables will be material cost, let's say labor cost, variable overhead, fixed cost, okay. Then initial investment, then the cost of capital. All of these are what? All of these are the variables of your decision. Your decision depends on all of this. Now, if the selling price drops, fine, by let's say 5%, alright, your NPV will become 0. That means anything more than 5 is a problem. We can tolerate only 5% drop, correct? If the unit sold drop by 20%, our NPV will become 0. If the material cost increases by 30%, we will lose all the profit. NPV will become 0. Means if it increases by 31%, there is a problem. This is what we can tolerate. If labor cost increases by 25%, there is issue. Variable overhead 50%, there is a problem. Fixed cost 80%, there is a problem. Initial investment, if it increases by 20%, there is a problem. Fine. Cost of capital, if that increases by let's say 100%, doubles, then there is a problem. So basically, the most vulnerable part, the most sensitive variable is the selling price. That means now the management, in order to manage risk, they should focus on price. They should give clear instruction that see, if you can't sell the units, don't sell it. Fine, but make sure that you don't reduce the selling price. Are we fine with that?
Okay.
Okay. So this is what it is. Fine. Sensitivity analysis. This is how we do. Now, it's not how we do. This is what we do. How we do, if I go for that, I'll have to take this entire class only on this. Fine. So this is the sensitivity analysis. What we do and how we come with the with our final answers. Okay. What are we trying to do? We are trying to understand and manage the risk. So I hope you understand how it is connected. Fine.
Well, this explained in data analysis, something this data analysis course, right?
What?
And this sensitivity analysis will be explained more for such course, data analysis, right? Specific course for data analysis.
Okay, maybe, yeah, for not only for data analytics, it is done for many other stuff. Like for example, in finance, you have to do it because see, they're talking about capital budgeting here, right? Capital budgeting is a chapter from finance.
Yes, but they didn't explain how also. Explain the what is called main idea about sensitivity analysis, but how you can do it, it is not also mentioned there.
No,
Yeah.
no, they have given in chapter 10 actually, chapter 9 ending.
So
Not in
fine.
this chapter.
Chapter
We
where?
did that. Chapter 9, chapter 9. We did this before.
Sensitivity analysis, how you can do it.
Yeah.
Then I think simulation Monte Carlo also is given there.
No, only this one, only sensitivity.
Okay.
We did this. Yeah, in page number 12 of chapter 9.
Chapter 9.
Yeah.
But معلش sorry عشان أنا this is sensitive to me. So 12 chapter 9.
No, chapter 9. Chapter 9, page number 12. We did a question also for this one that time when Dilnawasi explained.
Wallah, this is payoff table, I believe, and this is need to be explained again. But
No, he
I
explained.
don't.
He explained that day. It is there. We did the question also.
Nawaz, can you share with us this?
Sensitivity analysis. Here it is. Can you see this page?
Yeah, chapter page 12.
Yeah.
Guys, sensitivity analysis in this book is half page. How we discuss all of it.
That day he
Maybe.
told about this one, sales and everything.
Yeah.
I remember.
Okay, one second.
Maybe.
This was
Maybe.
where? In
Chapter 9.
chapter 9, right? One second. Analysis, forecasting, and strategy.
We talk about payoff table on that, guys.
Oh,
As
we
I
did.
remember.
Okay. Okay.
We talk about payoff table.
I think that we did few classes on. Yeah. We did few
Sensitivity you
classes
did.
on the board, right?
Yeah, that was on the board actually. I'll share the video. It's there in the video actually.
Okay, fine. So just tell them where it is.
Any
Do you
idea the
remember we discussed?
date you started budgeting actually? So that
Yeah. Here we started with budgeting, so that is what I.
no, the date. You know the date?
The date, yeah.
Yeah.
I can find the date.
And there was two methods of it actually.
This is 18th
Did?
May 2020. We started budgeting.
For sensitivity, there was two methods, right?
Yeah, there were two methods.
Right.
One is shock approach, another one is break-even approach.
18 May, right?
Yeah, this is 18 May. Budgeting is 18 May.
So then one class before.
On the channel, you can see it is mentioned with the like the chapter name and everything. All the
Wallahi, Osama, if you remember, he explained, and he remember that he explained. Most probably you are right, guys. But all what I remember about this class is talking about learning curve and the payoff table, expected value. This is what I remember.
Oh, fine. You go and check. It must be there, man. Come on. Let's move.
Move, خلاص.
Yeah. Let's move. So I think this one. Yeah. Okay. So let's continue with this sensitivity. I think what has he sent? Learning curve analysis. Okay, fine, great. Good work. All right. Fine. Let's continue with this sensitivity analysis. You guys got it right. Okay. And for more details, refer Noel. Right.
Refer Noel CNA Part 1 Online Learning Curve Analysis.
Come towards the end. Fast forward, come towards the end, last 30 minutes.
Last 30 minutes. Fine.
Yeah,
Thank you, Noel.
you're welcome.
I'm doing these discussions in so many classes that I cannot keep a track myself that what I have discussed in which class.
Anyway, خلاص, I will check it later. All right.
Yeah.
I'm agreeing. All right. You okay?
Okay, fine.
No,
So
Yeah.
one second, let me.
This one I remember. This we did it so many times.
Yeah.
Same
So many
example.
times, so we must take it. If you remember so many times, so we must did it. It's a problem with me. Okay.
Okay.
But these ones, I
Fine.
think we have to read them. This Monte Carlo simulation,
No,
daily.
no, we didn't do that. Only sensitivity. Only
Oh no,
we
that we didn't know. But I'm just saying, what is this like? They mentioned like
All right. So
Monte.
can we do simulation now?
Okay.
Yeah.
If they say we didn't take simulation, you have to do it, huh?
All
Do
right.
it.
All right. All right. Hold. Let's talk about simulation now. Fine.
Yalla. Okay. Simulation.
So simulation actually, like before this, like this is for probabilities, right? When we have probabilities, how to deal with that, and like how to come up with an estimate. We are talking about risk, and risk means you are not certain about the future, right? And that is where probability comes in. Like there is a 30% chance of, like, sales being 10,000 units. There is 40% chance that the sales can be 12,000 units, and there is again another 30% chance that the sales can also be 14,000 units. Fine, but currently we don't know how many units I will be able to sell. Do you get my point? So see, I'm not
So
certain. There is some risk involved. The sale can actually be 10, can be 14, it can be anything. So how to deal with that? So these people, they came up with an idea, probability analysis, also known as expected value analysis. Fine. So in expected value, what you do is multiply these things. So 10,000 into 30 is 3,000. All right. 12 into 40 is 4,800, and 14 into 30 is 4,200. So if you do the maths, it will give you what? 9 and 12. This is 12,000,
okay.
right?
Sorry, this 30, 40, 30%, the percentage I get it from?
This is probability. This is what you get from the market researchers. This is their estimate.
Their estimate, okay.
Fine. Are we getting 12?
Yeah, it's supposed
Seems
to be
like that.
10, 4,
So
8, 3,
okay, I don't want 12 here, and we are getting 12 because, because we have taken symmetrical 30, 30 and 40. That is why, like, this center is coming as the answer. Let this be 50 and let this be 20. Fine. Now we will not get the answer as that. Fine. So this will become
6,
6,000.
7,
Okay. And this will become 2,800. Right? And now if you do the
yes,
maths, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 11,800. Fine.
yes.
So the entire maths, the predictions, the estimates will be calculated on 11,800 units. Do you understand that? Fine.
Mm.
The problem with this method was that you are doing the entire maths based on 11,800, but in real, is it going to happen 11,800?
No,
The market researchers and experts are telling you it can be 10, 12, 14, and you are taking 11,800. First problem. The second problem is that the future is random, right? And you are not taking that randomness of future into consideration. You are doing as if you have already figured out what is going to happen in the future. So these were the two drawbacks of this method, because of which simulation, Monte Carlo simulation came up, fine, as an alternate to this. And what we do in this method is something like this. See, units you write, okay? So that is 10, 12, 14. Okay, and then you write the probability, that is 30, 50 and 20. Okay, and then you do cumulative probability, add these probabilities, so you get 30, 80 and 100, correct? Then you allocate random numbers to this. So random number from 0 to 99, this is 100 numbers. Okay, so why we do this cumulative? Because it makes work easier. From 0 to 29 is 30 numbers, right? And from 30 to 79 is 50 numbers, and from 80 to 99 is remaining 20 numbers. Fine. Now you have got the random numbers. Let's say you want to do the prediction for the next 3 months. Fine. So month 1, month 2, month 3. 3 months. So basically you need 3 numbers. You need 3 numbers of 2 digits. Because see, these are 2-digit numbers, right? So 3 numbers of 2 digits. That makes it how much? 6. You want 6-digit number. So you will go to the computer and ask the computer to generate a 6-digit random number. Alright. And let's say your computer gives you this. Okay. Random number, right? Random. So randomly some number will come. Now, first one is 50, right? So 50 falls where? 50 falls in this bracket, right? So we are expecting that the first month sale will be 12,000 units. 45 also falls there. So in the second month also it will be 12,000. 16 falls in the first one, so 10. Now these are our expectations. 2 problems we had with the first method, right? Both the problems are solved here. One, the randomness of future is taken into consideration. You could have got any number, right? Okay. And second, your main decision is going to be based on the numbers which are possible, right?
Which itself is expected. 10,
Which are
12, 14.
actually expected. Fine. So I cannot do discussion of simulation without discussing expected value. All right. So first that, and then we do this. Now this is how actually we do the maths. Fine. Now, if I don't have to say all of this without numbers, I just have to speak about it. I don't know what will I say. Fine. So let's see what they have said. Actually, what I feel is like the problem is that they are not defining things directly. They are telling you the advantage, disadvantage, usage of the thing, and that is why it is very difficult to keep all that in your head. Okay.
Sorry, we add the cumulative because
we add the simulated.
Okay, no, cumulative. When you count.
Yeah. Why we cumulated? This is what you are asking.
Yes.
We cumulated because I didn't had to count the numbers on my fingers, right? If I let it be till here and then I try to do this, then I will have to do this. First I will write 0 to 29 because first 30 numbers. After that 50 numbers. So from this, from 30, now 50 will end where? I will have to do some maths. Cumulative is a procedural thing, and what we are doing is, see, this whole thing, take this whole thing, minus 1 and paste it here. So you got all the numbers, right?
Okay.
So it reduces the chance of making mistake.
Okay, clear.
Okay, now this method is a sophisticated refinement of probability theory, right? So this was the probability theory, right? I think I told you that expected value, see, probabilities. This is also either expected value or probability analysis, they call this. This method has got 2 names, right? So they are saying that this is a sophisticated version of that. The computer is used to generate many example of results based on various assumptions, and project simulation is frequently expensive. Unless a project is exceptionally large and expensive, full-scale simulation is usually not worthwhile. Fine? So you try to make sense out of this. They are not telling you about simulation so that you can think about it, that okay, if I have to do this, it will be costly, cheap, what will happen, right? They are directly telling you few things, you just remember. Okay, and this is the dangerous part of GLAM also and this exam also, because they can like directly ask you about these things, like simulation is a costly or expensive way of doing risk assessment, yes or no, or which one is the costliest one, like that. Fine.
So
Monte
bro,
Carlo simulation, this method often is used in simulation to generate the individual value for a random variable. Okay, the performance of the quantitative model under uncertainty may be investigated by randomly selecting values for each of the variable in the model and then calculating the value of the solution. Performing this process many times produces the distribution of results from the model. Alright, basically the last line what they are saying is this part, that you got one random number. Fine, you put that here, you got some answers. Now you do the maths with these answers and see this project or whatever you are going to do, does that make sense? Okay, do again find another random number, go and ask the computer to make a set of another random number, and put it this way in your maths and see. Fine, 2-3 times you see that, like, you know, I tried 5 different random numbers and I was getting positive result. So that means whatever, like, you know, random permutation combinations we have done, okay, so we have got a, like, what do you say, now we are not making an unreasonable estimate that this is a good project. We have done our due diligence. Do you get my point? If I take 10 random numbers and I, like, you know, I plot this in this simulation back, and all the time I get positive answers, right? So I will get confidence, right, in the project. Out of 10, if 6 times it is showing negative values, then the chances of, like, you know, me starting the project and having negative is high. Having negative NPV will be high. Correct? Okay. So let's do Delphi approach. Since you guys already understood Monte Carlo, let's go for Delphi. Okay. I don't know what to say to this, but actually, see, the point is that they are just, like, you know, touching on the topic. For simulation, you can find books, not only chapters. Simulation, sensitivity analysis, linear programming, like, you know, this is a tool of problem solving. Now if you use it for solving financial issues, fine, so that portion will be covered in finance subject. Okay, if you use it to solve operational issues, that portion of this segment will be added in, like, you know, your performance management and management accounting books. Okay, so that is why you will find it in many places, and then you will find books only on simulation where they will talk about how it can be used for different departments for solving their issues. Fine, how linear programming can be used for marketing, forget about operation and, like, finance. So, like, that is how it is. The problem point here is that out of that, like, you know, 500-page book, they have taken 5 lines, sentences, put it here. They expect you to know that. So please do the needful.
no, it's not even 5 lines. It's 4 lines and 1 word.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's continue because that way we'll get stuck again. The Delphi approach solicits opinion from experts, summarizes the opinion, and feeds the summaries back to the expert without revealing participants to each other. Okay. The process is repeated until the opinions coverage on an optimal converge in an optimal solution. Okay. Okay. Like the experts will keep on giving their opinion, summarizes the opinion, and feeds the summaries back to the experts. Fine. So you will give an opinion. That opinion will be like went through a process, evaluated, and whatever your opinion is, it will all it will all convert into the maths, and finally the outcome will be given back to you. Now, if you like it, go ahead with that process or opinion, whatever it was, or else you can change it until and unless you can do it repeatedly until and unless you finally get a solution. All right. See, if you are not certain, then what do you do? If you are not certain, then what do? You estimate things, right? So now I don't have a solution for a problem. I don't know how to solve it also. So fine, I'm thinking, what if I do it this way? That's an opinion. Fine. So I will feed that opinion in the system. The system will do all the maths and it will give me an answer. If I like the answer, I can continue with that opinion. I will take that as a decision. Fine. If I keep on doing it over and over and over again, I may come to an optimal solution. And there are other experts, other participants also. They will also put what they are thinking. Okay. So the opinion and the outcome will be shown. Now, whose opinion is what? The participants will not be revealed. Good. Fine. Now, time series analysis. I think we may have done time series analysis also, because if we have done all of that, time series analysis may also have been dealt with. But see, the story with time series analysis is something like this. It is little bit weird stuff because, see, sales, what does sales has got to do with time? All right. In 2010, the sales was 10,000 units. In 11, it is 11,000 units. In 12, it is 12,000 units. So in 13, what do you expect? It will be how much? In 13, it will be how much? Hello? Am I teaching myself?
No, I'm here.
Achha.
I am here, but this mic is making you mute and doesn't want to unmute. It's stuck somewhere.
Oh yeah. Okay. Okay. So can we finalize this one? 10, 10, 11, 11, 12, 12. So in 13, what do you expect?
13. If the time, by passing time, the sales increase.
13, right? But now, logically, if you think, is there any connection between sales and calendar?
No.
No, it's not direct connection.
Yeah, so that is why they come up with a complete different kind of chapter, which is known as time series. All right, and here what you are trying to do is you are trying to find a trend over time. Okay, you are trying to find the trend over time. So what you do is, see, this is time and this is whatever value. It can be sales, it can be cost, profit, it can be units, it can be import, it can be export, it can be anything. Over the period of time, if we find something like this, fine, we are expecting that, okay, it's an upward trend. So in another 5-10 years, we'll be somewhere close to this point. Do you understand that?
No.
So currently we are till here only, but what is going to happen in the near future, we can at least give an idea. Fine. Now these trends that we are talking about can be straight line, it can be a curve, It can be seasonal. Seasonal is again an interesting stuff. Arey yaar, to bhai. Seasonal means like, something like this. So we can see that after every 2 years, this trend goes down, then again it goes up, again it goes down. For example, see leather products and sweaters. So there will be a time when sweaters will be in demand. Then after that, leather products will be in demand. So the demand for sweater will come down. Then again, it keeps on like this, right? This is cyclical trend. So this is cyclical pattern, all right? Business cycle. There is also like seasonal pattern. Fine. Do the reading. Seasonal will be like within a year. Fine. For example, you can say cold drinks or some winter products. So obviously they will have seasonal, like in the last quarter, fourth quarter of the year and first quarter of the year. The sales will be high, otherwise it will be low, right? Cyclical pattern means the business cycles, the ups and downs of the business. All right. So this can be a long period. It will not be in 1 year only. Fine. It can be a long period. Generally they say 10 years. There will be 10 years of growth, then 10 years of slow down, then again 10 years of growth and 10 years of slowdown. That's why in mutual funds they tell you to keep invested at least for 20 years so that you can see one up and one slowdown. Fine. So that the effect will be cancelled off. Right, because let's say you started investing and slowdown is started, and then you hesitated, and within 10 years you took out your investment. So when you took out your investment, then the actual growth is started to happen. So you will lose out on that opportunity, right? Anyways, that is your cyclical pattern. Please do the reading. You can have irregular patterns. You can have what are the benefits of time series? It gives you an idea, all right? And then we have limitation of time series. We cannot rely on this 100%. These are just projections, and as I said, nothing has got anything to do with the calendar, right? Fine. So trend can change, those things. Then we have what if analysis, big data. Okay, I think this will not end. Yeah. All right. So fine, let's do one thing. Okay, today it was too hectic here. Let us keep it till this. Next class is when? Today is what? Monday. We have to
Wednesday.
start on Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Now let's see. I think I'll better talk to Sajid sir about this one. Fine. And I'll tell him to have a look at this because he's the IT guy. Let's do one class with him and let's see, is that making too much sense?
okay.
Fine.
Good idea.
Let's give it a try. Because I think if he
Yeah.
can solve anything, if he can be 2%, 5% better than this, and it is helpful, then it is good because this is horrible. I can understand. I don't know how you guys will read. I am asking you to read it 2-3 times, but I don't know how will you do that. Fine. So let's try him once. Let's see if it is helpful. Then I'll ask him to continue with this and give you guys 2-3 more classes from the last 4 chapters that we have.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
Let's
Okay.
keep it till here. Yeah.
All right. Perfect. Thank you very much. And I will go to check Noel reference and come back to you guys. Okay.
Okay.
Okay.